Jimmy Butler has me absolutely dumbstruck, and I know I am not alone because this dude, he turns it up in another level when it comes to the playoffs, and I think this year we've seen something different than we've ever seen before. Jimmy Butler's impact on the Miami Heat is undeniable. When he's on the court, the team is a completely different animal. Without him, they struggle to find their footing, and in the playoffs, he carries them on his back single-handedly. Butler's leadership and work ethic are a huge part of why he is where he is today and why this Miami Heat team is where they're at currently. He's a vocal presence on the court, constantly pushing his teammates to give their all while leading by example, not just a person that is talking and not really backing it up. He's actually showing what he expects from his teammates in his own play and work ethic. The Heat are a pretty talented team. They don't have the best players as they had a few years back, but they do have some talent. But with Butler's presence, it takes them to a whole other level. Jimmy Butler as a player and person is the perfect fit for Miami and their long-standing culture that has been preserved for decades. He's essentially what makes Miami tick, and if it weren't for the Bulls, Timberwolves, and the 76ers fumbling, the Heat wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to the 2020 NBA Finals. And people don't really understand or think about the fact that that was Jimmy Butler's first season as a member of the Heat. I don't care how you think about the NBA bubble in that season, in my opinion, and many others' opinion that really love basketball and understand the game of basketball. The bubble counted. It was not something that was a fluke. And truth be told, the 4 teams that were in the conference finals in the bubble, right now they're 2-1. Now, many people, they wonder what the bubble has to do with 3 years from now. And I do concede that the rosters are vastly different. However, the foundation was already laid. The foundation was there for most of these teams. The stars of these teams, they're still there on these teams. The only difference is the players that were built around them, and all of these teams were able to reload in the matter of a few years and make it back to the conference semifinals. Jimmy Butler is one of the most talented players in the NBA, and he's known for his ability to elevate his game in the postseason. And in fact, his statistics show that he performs significantly better in the playoffs than he does in the regular season. Sure, his usual counting stats, his points per game, rebounds per game, assists per games, that regular season number compared to the playoffs numbers, yes, they do elevate. But even further than that, Jimmy Butler's points per game not only rises almost 12 points per game, but he also is more efficient in the playoffs. And I truthfully don't think people really understand how hard it is to do that in the playoffs as opposed to the regular season. At every scoring level, Jimmy Butler is so much more efficient than he is in the regular season and postseason. And if you look at the numbers, it's astounding. From the restricted area in the regular season, he goes from 67.5%, and in the playoffs, it rises to 72%. In the regular season, his floater range is 48%, while it rises to 63% in the playoffs. His mid-range percentage is a 44%, while it does kind of lower a little bit in the playoffs, but that's kind of expected because he takes majority of his shots there, and as he takes more shots there, you expect the efficiency to lower. But one place that really caught my eye, and it should catch your eye because Jimmy Butler, as we all know, isn't the one guy that's shooting many threes. His pull-up threes in the regular season, he shoots 28%, while in the playoffs is 34%, and his catch-and-shoot threes go from 31% and rises almost 34% to 66.7%, which is amazing. It's very hard to put into perspective what these numbers truly mean. Obviously, the playoffs mean a lot more than the regular season, but even further than that, we know the play changes. We know defenses are more focused on the superstar. We know that Jimmy Butler is the Heat's main star. Obviously, they have Bam Adebayo and some other guys, but most teams are going to be game planning for Jimmy Butler primarily, and the fact that he rises to the occasion every single playoffs, it's amazing. The greatest part about all this is that he's doing this on a bum ankle. He missed game 2 against the Knicks last game, but he still came back in game 3 and gave a monster performance. Personally, to me, Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that I really like, but I think really slides under the radar, especially because his regular season play, it's a bit ordinary. That's the best way to put it. But one of the reasons I think Jimmy Butler is one of the best shooting guards in the league, besides his skill and talent, It's the fact that he has that dog mentality that a lot of us look for. I'm one of those guys that I'm always going to cheer for a two-way player over just an offensive dominant player or a defensive dominant player. I like my two-way players, and Jimmy Butler, he might be the best shooting guard two-way in the league as it currently stands. Another thing about Jimmy Butler that I absolutely love, and as a Kobe fan, I feel like I recognize this very, very clearly, but many fans, they talk about Book or sometimes even Tatum being that next Kobe kind of guy, and it really comes from the fact that they just loved Kobe. They were obsessed with his game, obsessed with who he was, and many of us were. But if we're gonna be completely honest, out of all the players in the league currently, I think Jimmy Butler, he is the closest to what Mamba mentality truly is. He is the closest to what we've seen of Kobe. When we talk about guys like Book and Jason Tatum, it's more or less because of their mid-range game, their back-to-the-basket game in the case of Tatum. But when we're talking about the mid-range game on top of that dog mentality, I feel Jimmy Butler, he is the closest resemblance of Kobe. He's a guy that's not the best three-point shooter, but he's going to turn it up when it matters most. He's a guy that's lights out from the mid-range, and if he makes his mind to get to the basket, he's going to get to the basket, get the bucket, and if he gets to a spot, it's a wrap. And once he goes on a heater, it is definitely a wrap. There's nothing else you're going to do about it. We've seen it 2 times in this playoffs already where he's exploded for 40 and 50. But when we truly talk about that Mamba mentality and a player that really encapsulate who Kobe was both on and off the court, I think Jimmy Butler is that guy. Jimmy Butler is definitely the closest to it. We see it with the Timberwolves when he went to practice and he beat the ones with the D-League guys. We've seen it with his dog mentality in Miami when it comes to the playoffs and turning up in the playoffs. This is the best Kobe comp we have ever seen since Kobe retired. And Jimmy Butler's impact on the game goes beyond just his statistics. He's a fierce competitor who brings a level of intensity and energy to the court that inspires his teammates. He's also a lockdown defender who can guard multiple positions. I could even argue he could guard 1 through 5 and disrupt opposing offenses. All of these factors to me make Butler a key player to watch, not only in this playoffs, but in general. He's proven time and time again that he has what it takes to perform at the highest level, and his ability, it elevates every single time we get to the postseason. This elevation in the postseason is a huge reason as to why Jimmy Butler is one of the most respected players in the league. And honestly, I think that he could truly make it to the finals. The Heat have a special opportunity here with the Knicks in the second round. Now, if they beat the Knicks, I personally do think that they're going to lose to Boston or Philly no matter who comes out of that series. I think that series determines who comes out of the East. But regardless, you cannot count out Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. I can't say for certain that the game won't go to 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that if you give Jimmy Butler an opportunity again, he's not going to fumble it like he did last year. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. Let me know what you guys think down below. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. And until next time, it's your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories in the base on the tube, and I'm out. Peace.